They're schemers. Schemers trying to control their little worlds. I'm not a schemer. When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other. And here we go.
Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well. You're amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. You're looking absolutely amazing. Guess what? It's Friday, baby. That's it. It's Friday, and I know it's Friday, so you can take that to the bank. Take that to the bank. I've got it right for once. Anyway, like I say, you're looking absolutely amazing. I'm going to get straight into the meat and potatoes, as a few of you reached out and you sent me a video. So I'm not taking any credit for this video. This is a mixture of different people. The video that I was sent was from Sherlock Holmes, but it is of a... You'll see. I'm not going to surprise you if you haven't seen it, but I feel it's very important for people to see. So the whole purpose of me bringing this to your attention is to show you, look, there are things that need to be taken into consideration when it comes to the Idaho 4 case, Bryan Kohberger, and what could possibly be happening. And look, I know some people think that we're conspiracy theorists, we're nutters, we're crazy in the coconut, but I don't care. Because the world is a crazy place and not everything is always as it seems. And the link to this video will be in the description of this video. I think I said that right. And it will also be in the pinned comment down below so you can go and watch it. But I'm going to show you it and I'm going to tell you my thoughts, and I will be stopping it periodically so we don't get struck down with furious anger. But first of all, what we do have to cover before I go into this is this, which is there is a Zoom hearing, which I'm sure that most of you probably know, some of you might not, but there is a Zoom hearing. I believe this is going to be public, so if it is, which it seems to be, we will be covering it over here in all its glory, which is referencing the removal or vacation of the non-dissemination order, the removal of the gag order, which will make a load of the documents that are currently sitting there as gagged and sealed, they will unseal them. This is after the Associated Press has put pressure on the judicial system to get rid of the gag order, because basically they're saying, look, the gag order is put in place to protect Bryan Kohberger with respect of his, he should be able to get a fair trial. Well, there isn't going to be a fair trial, so why is this still in place? It should be vacated immediately. And I agree. So that's what we're going to be doing. So, yes, this is July 17th. That's 10:30 a.m. their time. Mountain time, is it? Yeah. So we'll be doing it over here, which is about 4:30 p.m. UK time. But this is the video in question. This is from Sherlock Holmes. Like I say, the description of this video will contain the link to that video, and it will also be contained in the pinned comment of this video, the link to that video. You with me? I hope so. It's Friday. You should be well on the ball by now. Monday, that would have been a little bit complex. But look, let's get straight into it. I need to like that, don't I? And let's go. Check this out.
Here's kind of what I think happened. I think as we approached trial, Bill Thompson and the prosecution knew that they had a circumstantial case and that there was a risk of losing the case. They reached out and put pressure. This is all my theory, so it's not, I can't prove none of this. They reached out and put pressure on Molly McMichaels to get her on the stand and say she saw Bryan Kohberger outside the house, because they needed somebody to put him there at the scene because they didn't have a case. They couldn't put Bryan Kohberger at the house.
And look, if we talk about this a bit at a time to look at the credibility of what's being said, look, the case is circumstantial. We know it's circumstantial, and we know with respect of the knife sheath is problematic. Bicker Barlow came forward and spoke about this. It was problematic. We've had situations where people have spoken about the DNA situation, and we know that they were then subsequently pressurized by the FBI to retract the statements that they'd made. We also know that there's some kind of battle on how do we approach this in trial. Are we going to even have it go into trial? So we just remove it from trial. It was stated very early on that that entire IGG process would be kept out of the trial. And the whole sheath situation has been a little bit standoffish. Now, whether it's because the FBI went round the back door, And I don't mean like in a Bonnie Blue video style backdoor. I mean doing stuff that they shouldn't have done. You know what I mean? And look, it is what it is. And then we have this person who looks like a poster child for a do not do drugs kids advert. She's come forward and said that she's got to testify. But even when she's saying that, she's like, oh, I've got to testify against Brian. Like it's a fucking problem. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like she's been forced into doing it. Like there's been leverage. It just don't feel right. And what with footage of her saying that she is indeed also friends with Bill Thompson, the whole thing kind of feels a little bit ropey. Do you know what I mean? So there, when you take everything into consideration, could that statement be legit? Of course it could. I don't think you can deny that, whatever you feel.
Needed somebody to come forward and put him at the house. And then that went to shit. And it was only after Molly McMichaels went to shit that they said, well, fuck it, we'll take a plea deal.
And it was only after Molly McMichaels went to shit that they said, well, fuck it, we'll take a plea deal.
Yes. And I think it's when they lost the case. I just finished reading Howard Bloom's book, When the Night Comes Falling, and I recorded my thoughts on the very last chapter. One of the things that came out in the chapter was about how Steve Gonzalez, along with his private investigator, was investigating the thing because he didn't trust the feds. He didn't trust Moscow Police Department. He needed to know for himself. He didn't think they were doing a good job.
Which, again, we know that to be factual. You know, Steve Gonzalez, from the jump, was very cagey about how things had been handled. He had specifically mentioned about his feeling that certain people around the case had been cleared too quickly, for instance. And I think that Steve Gonzalez has got this inner turmoil inside him where he still, to this day, is not trustworthy of what he's being told. I think that, yeah, there's something there. Listen.
Through his investigator, got a lead on somebody who was, how did they word it? That knew exactly what happened in the house. I think it was Bethany Funk. The FBI, according to Howard Bloom, told Steve Gonzalez, let it go. You will not contact that person. You will be arrested if you try. That is a confidential informant. You will not pressure them. And he was like, he was ready to sit down and say, look him in the eye and say, tell me what the hell you saw that night. And the FBI stepped in and said, we will arrest you, Steve.
And just as a side note, remember I had spoken to Steve Gonzalez personally some months ago with respect of Dylan Mortensen, Bethany Funk, and I got the vibe even back then. You know, my video still exists, so you can go and find it. But I did get the vibe that he felt that they were being protected. You know, there was something there. They were being protected. Now they've subsequently come out and they're offering sort of solidarity between them and these surviving roommates, if you like. But that's not how it's always been. It certainly isn't how it's always been. And I do sometimes also wonder whether, like, Olivia will say that she wants Bryan Kohberger to explain everything, not for her because she's 100% sure, but in order to assist them in moving forward. And I don't know whether the entire family is on the same wavelength there. I'm just not buying it. I think they think that there is multiple people involved. They've told others that they feel there's multiple people involved, and we're going to get to that shortly.
You talk to that person. Do not talk to them. So I personally think that was Bethany Funk. I think the feds moved her out of the state, took steps to make sure that she wouldn't come back and testify because I believe she has exculpatory information. Bethany Funk saw somebody at the back of the house out of their clothes, putting clothes into a garbage bag. This was rumored in text messages. It was rumored in several places that Bethany Funk saw somebody. I think she did. And the problem is I think who Bethany Funk saw wasn't Bryan Kohberger. And if she had been allowed to testify and put under oath about who it was she saw or that gave a description that didn't match Kohberger, the case would be over. And their answer was take her and put her in custody, put her in protection and help her fight.
And this on the screen here, you know, you can't forget this as well. Dylan Mortensen apparently is 3 feet away from this person who's entered into the house and done this crime. She stares him straight in the face because she sees a fucking bushy eyebrow. So she's staring him straight in the eyes. She is then subsequently shown a picture of Bryan Kohberger and she doesn't recognize him. I'm telling you what, if you stare someone straight in the eyes, then if you stare that same person straight in the eyes again, then there is going to be in my opinion, there's going to be a familiarity there. You're going to be familiar with what you've seen. You don't look into the same pair of eyes twice and not recognize them. That's my opinion, but I just ain't buying that. So for her to look at Bryan Kohberger and not see anything, yeah, because you look in the eyes. You know what I mean? You stare in people in the eyes, and yeah, she doesn't recognize him. Explain that.
She tried it back so that she doesn't go on the stand. And if it looks like we can't, here's the thing: if it looks like we can't keep her from testifying, fucking take a plea deal. Don't let that shit come out. But take a plea. If you can't keep her and she's going to be subpoenaed and she's going to have to go under oath, then take a plea deal and get off of this thing right away.
And now that makes a lot of sense why Hurwitz would be there. That's absolutely something he would get involved with,
right?
Depending on who they're protecting that witness from, right? Like,
yeah.
That turns federal.
Hurwitz would be there. That's absolutely something he would get involved with.
So before the trial, at about 7 o'clock in the morning, the courtroom is going to open at 8. I was in line since 3 o'clock in the morning. At 7 o'clock.
So this is the hearing that they expected Steve Gonzalez to come to and kick the fuck off. Do you know what I mean? That's what everyone was expecting, Steve Gonzalez to lose his shit.
Morning, I had media come rushing up to some of the reporters. It's hard to explain, but there was media that came with, like, Fox News had like 5 reporters there. One was in line with me to go into the courthouse, and the rest of the team was outside. So somebody from Fox comes up to his Fox reporter standing in line next to me, and right in front of my earshot says, "Hey, we just got word Steve Gonzalez is going to make a stink in front of the courthouse. He's coming to make a protest on the steps of the courthouse." And the guy's like, "Holy shit, where should I be? Do I go into the court or do I stay out here for Steve Gonzalez's shit show?" Steve Gonzalez walked his wife Christy up the steps of the courthouse and then turned around and didn't come in and left. But the media ambushed him. And a statement that he made in front of the cameras really struck me as really interesting.
Pay attention.
"We know when his parents booked their flights." And I said, and they said, "What do you mean by that?" And he goes, "That's all I got to say. We know when you booked the flights." And
so that is Steve Gonzalez saying that he knew when the Kohberger family booked their flights to go from, obviously, Pennsylvania over to this here and reference this. And yeah, it's interesting. Look, we'll swing back around here in a second, but I think we've heard, haven't we? It was in media that, and this is why the gag order lifting will be interesting, and I think will be enlightening in certain things, because we've got the document that has a different date on it. What was it? 1st of June. It was crossed out and changed to the 1st of July or whatever. And yeah, a lot of people have pointed out that document, because it's been doctored and then not initialed, could potentially render that as also not legally binding. But I don't know much about that. But generally, that is how it is. If a formal document has been doctored in any way, then usually it has to be notarized, signed and yeah. But this is going to get very interesting.
I take that to mean is the parents knew a plea deal was coming before the plea deal got announced. The families were told afterwards that his parents were already told a plea deal was in place, and they booked flights and were heading out. And so Steve's, I think, hinting, "We know you already knew about the plea deal coming because we know when you booked the flights. You guys were coming out and were part of the negotiations on the plea deal." I have theorized for a while what Steve's so pissed off about isn't what everybody thinks he's pissed off about. Everybody thinks Steve Gonzalez is pissed off because he wants Bryan Kohberger killed. I think Steve Gonzalez is pissed off because he knows there's other people involved, and it was going to come out during trial. And now that there's no trial, people who were involved in the murder of his daughter are going to walk free.
What
do you think that? Let me know down below what you think. This crime, irrelevant of Bryan Kohberger being innocent or guilty, because I'm still on the fence of it. But what I am not on the fence of, and I am absolutely 100% certain, and this is just my opinion, this is just my opinion, that this crime was not done by one person. I do not believe it. I do not believe that there was nobody else involved in this crime. I won't believe it. I don't believe it.
That's the whole reason why he's saying, no, this should go to trial, because he knows that the other shit's going to come out that points to who may have actually been there and was an accomplice.
Right. I think
that makes sense, dude.
In my mind, here's what I think happened. Bethany saw something. It wasn't Kohberger. It was somebody else that was there. He knows through his private investigator that there were other people involved. Steve Gonzalez knows that. That's my theory. It's a
How can you not think that? We've said about this, haven't we? There's multiple other blood around this crime scene, multiple other sources of DNA, and yet they are seemingly ignored. And when I say ignored, I mean that they're not taken down the track the whole 9 yards like Bryan Kohberger's teeny bit of trace DNA that was found apparently on the knife sheath. So how come that was, attacked with such, vigilance, yet glove, no, other handrail blood, no, sheath, other stuff on the sheath itself, mixed sample underneath victim's fingernails. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And historically, this would be red flag central. Red flag central. You would have learned. You would think they would learn that we need to find out where this comes from, or did they? And then did they bury it?
people. I'm not saying this is fact. Steve Gonzalez knows through his private investigator that there was other people involved. He tried to sit down with Bethany, and the feds told Steve Gonzalez, let it go. Don't you dare talk to anybody. He knows there's other people involved. And again, I think at my gut, that tells me why Steve Gonzalez is so hot, because those people are going to walk free, and maybe even more sickening, be celebrated as some kind of fucking hero around this while they were involved in the murder of his daughter. And by the way, here's another thing that you and I haven't talked about. One of the things that came with this plea deal is the facts have now been established about when Bryan Kohberger arrived for the crime and when he left the crime.
And this is incredibly important. And he does go on to explain this, but it's very important now that this has now been logged into public record, the specifics, the facts. Because, and again, what they will go on to say is it's now set in stone that this is when this happened, this is when you entered the house, this is when you exited the house, and if in the future that this is then proven to be inaccurate, which could potentially be important in terms of, could Cy come back into the fray and say, look, this is what we've got. And if he then has solid evidence to prove that Bryan Kohberger was somewhere else outside of this specific time frame, then it doesn't matter what plea deal is in place. With new information coming out that proves that he didn't do it, that would supersede any deal done now. That's just it.
If someone can ever come forward, even 5 years from now, to prove definitively Bryan Kohberger could not have been in the house at the time that they said he was, then everything changes, including a deal that said there's no appeals. If he physically could not have done it because he could, they've already established the timeline. This is when you entered the house, this is when you exited the house. If something comes out like a Cy that says, I can prove to you, and oh, by the way, we just found out that there's video footage on a camera showing that Kohberger was 10 miles away from the crime at the time he said he was supposed to be there. If that kind of thing ever comes forward, this whole fucking thing goes out the window.
And is that impossible? I don't think that's impossible to happen. I genuinely don't. Because I think that so much has been buried in this case. And now, given time, that 51 terabytes of stuff, if someone's got the stones to go through it and get hold of it and continue to look into this case, that's the issue. Is someone going to continue looking into it? Is someone going to continue to get hold of the evidence leading up to this?
A deal with no appeals. If they can prove he couldn't have done it, it changes everything.
Dude, that is a great point. And if you look at the comment that 40 Life Candles just put up, and maybe that's why he kept saying, sorry, Kaylee, I let you down, because he knows. Dude, yes. That makes so much more sense for the rage then.
Yeah.
And not really just killing him.
Right. That person's right on. My gut tells me Steve Gonzalez knows somebody else involved. He probably knows exactly who else is involved, and he's let his daughter down because he's not going to be able to punish the person who was involved.
It says yes, absolutely. If the Idaho,
this is a very interesting piece. This is. Listen to this closely.
Case or any case, involved WITSEC or was being handled as a quote-unquote show trial, then filing the plea in a different district could be part of a federal workaround, not legal error, but a covert legal strategy used to conceal the full truth from the public record. How a different district plea deal could be a clue to a WITSEC or show trial. WITSEC does not mean standard justice. WITSEC operates outside the normal judicial framework. Okay, again, have we seen the normal judicial framework for this type of case, at least what they said it was?
I don't think anything in this case has been normal, has it? I don't think it has been normal. Even the thoughts that it's been rushed because it doesn't work in with the time frame, really. The trials like this and cases like this take a lot longer than this, and yet we're in a situation where it seems like they were forcing it to trial, and Taylor saying, I'm not ready, when in reality she should have had probably another 18 months before this would have really been, in normality terms, going to trial anyway. And what with the gag order and just it becoming normality just to seal every fucking thing, it's just, yeah, I don't think it was normal.
That we have, as far as the sealings go. When someone is in or entering WITSEC, their identity, location, and legal proceedings are often sealed. Their cases can be adjudicated or terminated in alternate districts, sometimes under different names or case numbers. The goal is secrecy, not transparency. And this is interesting. This is legal under U.S. Code 3521, which is WITSEC law, but it requires federal cooperation, typically DOJ, Marshal Service, or FBI.
And what was that? What did we actually see in the documentation? The Marshal. Yeah.
Wow. Yes, and Stacy, I saw this too. Bryan is an asset to the state, and apparently he's testifying in another criminal case. And
with respect to that was something that Steve Gonzalez had said in the Piers Morgan interview that I showed yesterday, where he said we might as well leave it and let him be an asset to the state then. Do you know what I mean?
Looked at Steve G's interview, he said maybe it's better to just lock him up and let him be an asset for the state. Like, that's a quote. He said that. So a show trial doesn't mean the defendant is innocent or guilty. It means the outcome is decided before the facts are presented. Okay, guys, this sounds like exactly what we're seeing. This is what I'm saying. It just said it means the outcome is decided before the facts are presented. Carefully staged plea deals, not for justice, but for optics. I think it checks that box. Filing motion or pleas in controlled courtrooms. Media gag orders. Wow. Sealed filings, altered transcripts, or vague court docs to obscure the relocation and legal process. If you file outside the original jurisdiction, it could be part of a containment protocol if the case touches intelligence trafficking or political embarrassment.
Intelligence trafficking or political embarrassment.
What can I say? Are you whatever side of the fence you're on, even if you think Bryan Kohberger is guilty and done this crime, right? You're a guilter through and through. What do you think in terms of this information? Just because this ain't now about even whether Bryan Kohberger is innocent or guilty and him being on trial. This is the system being on trial. So do you not admit that the way that we've watched things progress is not indicative of this situation right here? Tell me that's not accurate.
A federal... Okay, come on, guys. The second one is a federal override using national security justification.
Look, obviously people are going to feel a certain way. Some people are going to believe it, some people are not. But again, whether you're a guilter or you are a pro-burger, then that seems to be the two teams. Blue versus red. What do you think about it? Do you see what I see? And that is that this could potentially be something much more different than what we are seeing. And again, this ain't just about Bryan Kohberger being on trial here. This is about the system and whether the system was operating as it should, and have these victims sadly lost out on true justice for hidden agendas. Let me know down below what you think. And again, the links are in the description of this video and the pinned comment down below. I'll catch you all a little bit later. Mwah.